In this modern age, studying has become part of the society. Everyone, including little children to grown-up adults, are required to learn in their field of study and produce answers in an exam or test. However, most of us are faced with the big challenge of remembering what we learned. Today, we are going to look at 5 techniques on how to study to pass an exam or test. And stick around, there's a bonus video in the end. Number 1 is to take notes. Taking notes is like the basis of our education. Since primary school, we were brought up with the habit of note taking. But this time, we wouldn't rewrite a whole book. Instead, as you sit in class listening to the lecturer or while reading a text, write down the important pieces of information you hear or read. That is, summarize the key ideas and concepts. This will force your brain to process the information faster and condense it to its important elements. This technique is more effective when you write it down with a pen and paper other than typing on your phone or laptop. Reading over these notes after your study session sometimes makes you remember exactly what the lecturer said in the case of examples. This will improve your learning skills and make you remember whatever you studied. The second technique is to teach it to someone else. Teaching is one of the best ways to learn. To be able to explain something for someone to get a deeper understanding, you must be able to grasp the concept yourself. By teaching, you are forced to investigate, understand, summarize, and draw conclusions that promote a deeper personal understanding. This makes it easier to explain the material to another person. When teaching, use the Feynman technique. This is a technique where you explain concepts in the simplest terms possible. We call it explain it to a layman's understanding. By so doing, you understand and absorb the concept better. This works better in group studies. The third technique is for you to quiz yourself. As you study each section of the material, take breaks to quiz yourself. You can do this by writing study questions for yourself as you learn, or you can make flashcards, or even you can answer the exercises built in the textbook. A 2013 study by the Association of Psychological Science showed that practice texts work better than simply highlighting your notes or reading of notes. If you have a study buddy, you can plan this technique with them. Exchange questions after every study session and try to answer your friends' questions. This will give you a broader view of what you may have skipped while reading. Self-quizzing helps you get a better idea of how well you understand the material, and it also forces your brain to work a little bit harder to remember. The fourth technique is review at regular intervals. Most of the time, studying isn't the problem for most of us. It's remembering what we've studied that becomes a great challenge. According to a 19th century psychologist, Hermann Ebbinghaus, instant recall has 100% information retention, but as little as an hour later, you can only recall a mere 44% of what you have learned. This means there's a higher chance you can recall what you studied right after a study session. But as time passes, you tend to forget little pieces of the information. To counter this, use a technique called spaced repetition. This technique is an effective way of reviewing what you've studied. It teaches you to revisit what you studied at regular intervals. Let me give you a typical example. You review what you learned the first day after you study. Then you revisit it after the third day. And then you revisit it after the seventh day. And then a week after that. This makes the information to be stored almost permanently in your brain. The fifth technique is for you to create memory cues. A memory cue is any type of stimulus that helps to jog your memory or help you recall information that is stored in your memory. Memory cues are also objects or events that help trigger an action or memory of an action. They are a useful tool that also aids in remembering what you studied. You may use acronyms as memory cues for information. Do you recall the acronym ROIC-BIV for the colors of the rainbow? That's how effective memory cues are. You can use acronyms to represent words you are trying to remember, and it's going to stick in your head. Once you remember the acronym, the words are easy to remember. Also, you can create a kind of song as a memory trigger. You can turn some parts of your study into a song. Studies have shown that music helps evoke memories. Imagine if you could turn your studies into music. Now, as promised, this is the bonus video. We are going to give you tips on how to study effectively. The first tip is for you to give yourself time to understand, process and review the information. Do not pressure yourself into understanding the whole thing at a time. Last minute cramming is ineffective for retaining information. The second tip is for you to rest well and take breaks in your study sessions. Your brain processes new information while you sleep, so you may find that you understand those difficult concepts better after a quick nap or a good night's rest. The third tip is for you to find a comfortable place to study where you can concentrate on what you are studying. Good study spaces may include a desk in your room or in a class or a cubicle in your school library. The fourth tip is for you to know yourself and choose the environment most suitable. Some of us prefer really quiet places to study. Others also concentrate well in noisy places. Know yourself and select the environment where you can best focus your attention. Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe and turn on post notifications to be a part of the family. Like the video and please make sure you share the video to a loved one or a friend. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.